Before I introduce the shared value team, I just want to make a comment. You may be surprised that we're going to talk values, shared values as a community tonight, but it really is a well-documented fact that organizations that have strong values and that are owned and shared throughout the organization outperform other organizations. And I would say you could apply that to community. Community with strong values, shared values will outperform, will be a top community. But I want to tell you one of the observations I have, and I don't want to be too negative, but as I got re-engaged with the community here, I've been actually shocked by the level of dysfunction in our community. And I'll start. It surprised me. There's dysfunctional behavior in the business community. I've seen dysfunctional behavior in the nonprofit community. And I've seen dysfunctional behavior in the public sector. We will not succeed if we keep that approach. We also don't seem to have a lot of trust in each other. And then with all that, we tend to have a negative vibe in the community. You know, I'm in and out of here a lot, and you can feel it. So what I'd ask you is really think about these shared values. We've got a team together. They worked hard on this. And this is our draft. We're asking for feedback. But I do believe that if the community and all that want to participate can say, I'm going to live by these shared values, we will do better as a community. So with that, I'd like to introduce Jay Sandine, who's going to talk us through some of this with his team.
One of our great community leaders, and my friend, Mr. Webbs Norman, taught others, if your values are clear, your decisions are easy. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jay Sandine. I work for your Rockford Park District, and I'm joined on the stage tonight by my fellow shared values teammates, Mr. David Sidney from the city of Rockford, and Mr. Blake Musser. And Mr. Blake Musser from Supply Corps. So we've all heard the case for change. We know the statistics, we know the rankings, and we've seen the brutal facts. We've just learned a process for how we can get where we are today to a community that we all dream about. A community where our children and our grandchildren and future generations prosper. Now I want you to look to your left and look to your right. Look to the people sitting next to you. Every single person in this theater tonight believes we can achieve greatness in Rockford, Illinois. Because we wouldn't be here if we didn't believe that tonight. We wouldn't have had to move this evening's discussion to the Coronado Theater if we didn't believe that tonight. But before we can truly transform our community, we must all come together as one and embrace a value system that will drive our every thought, our every action, and our every decision from here on out. Our team has had the opportunity to draft a set of shared values that we want to present to you this evening. Our goal is to get your feedback, your involvement, and ultimately your approval of these values. Once approved, we will present back to the community a final draft and ask everyone to sign their name as a pledge to uphold these values. But it just doesn't stop there with that signature. We will commit to them. We will promise to follow them, and we will hold each other accountable to them. They will be hung above our computers at work and taped to our refrigerators at home. It will be our new way of life in Rockford, Illinois. Our shared values will define how we treat one another as individuals, as organizations, and as industries. They will set the ground rules for our discussions, and they will allow everyone to have a voice. And most important, the shared values will provide our community an awesome opportunity to get to know one another in ways we never have before. And when we truly get to know one another, I think we're going to find out that we have a lot more in common than we ever thought. If our values are clear, our decisions will be easy. For when we value each other, we build relationships. When we have relationships, we build trust. And when we have trust, we can accomplish anything we put our minds to. At this time, I'm honored to introduce my friend David Sidney, who's going to present to you this evening our draft version of the shared values. Thank you.
You know, I think we've seen the data, and it's something that we have to embrace. It's something that we have to see about ourselves. It's pretty awesome to see everybody here. And all of us in here came in with a set of values. All of us have been formed and shaped by experiences in life here in Rockford and other places. And we are bringing that right here in our seats. Whether you know it or don't know it, you are actually bringing a set of values into this room. And the temptation that I have when I go to a board meeting or a council or any setting where I'm with other people is my natural tendency is to bring my values and make sure that you hear them. And make sure that you get on board with my view and my worldview and my values. That's just part of who we are. It's harder to say, okay, maybe 5 of my values are actually good and worthy to be on the table, but the person next to me has 6 values that are pretty cool, and maybe I should adopt them. Each and every one of us has to have that mindset when we engage in this transformation process. This is so key and crucial to this working. A lot of us say, hey, why do we silo? Why are there so many organizations doing so many different things, and somebody gets mad at somebody and they break off and they start a new committee and start a new group? Don't look at me like I'm just saying something that's out there. It's true, and I've had those thoughts, and I wanted to quit and give up on Rockford and just move on, but the reality is that that's saying something about my own values. And so tonight we're sharing these values with you as draft because they really are drafts. These are values that some of them we received and some of them we brought forward. And the way we've categorized them, it was really beautiful to work with the 4 team members. Becky, who was also a part of our team, who's not on stage with us right now, but there were several breakfast conversations where I had to really check myself and to really check my attitude. Because it's easy to look at somebody and say, where are you coming from? And I had to check myself. So with that being said, these are the 9 shared values that has emerged in this process. And I'm just going to walk right through them. I believe that you'll see them clear on the screen. The first one deals with inclusion, not tokenism, but true inclusion that says you matter. In order to say you matter means you have to cultivate an environment that says that our differences are not going to divide us, our differences actually matter, and perhaps out of that we're going to create a new canvas. The second value is caring, right? Showing concern for the person that's next to you. And the welfare, right? Those statistics, right? It's easy to talk about statistics, but the reality is that many of us live in the zones outside of the zones where there's a deep set of issues that we've never come across in our own lives. We can't just look at them as maps. We actually have to care. We have to say that, you know what, I may never drive down Central. I may never drive down Alpine. I may never get on the interstate system, but those people matter too. Respect says that, you know, I have a lot of knowledge up here, you know, I've got degrees, but who cares, right? Because knowledge, respect says that we're going to embrace the knowledge and experience of others by being attentive, listening well, and celebrating the diversity, shared learning experience. And then we move into transparency. Transparency says that I got to be open, right? I shared with you some of my own weaknesses as an individual, right? In order for this to work, we've got to be transparent with each other. We've got to be real, open, and honest. And we got to encourage others, right? The more I become honest with myself, the easier it is for someone next to me to become open about the same thing. Trustworthiness. That integrity matters, reliable communication, that openness, right? That we will become committed. It's hard to be truthful. It's just hard. But we're going to commit to that as a crew. We're going to commit to that as a city, as a region. Consensus. Consensus is not about compromising. It's not about conformity. Consensus is about unity. It says that I'm going to unite to something that's bigger and better and grander than myself and my family and my neighborhood. Ideation, big fancy word that basically says this. Look, one of the statistics says we are an innovation hub, and a lot of us don't think that, but when you look at it, we are. And so ideation says, you know what, we're going to take all this creativity that's in this room and that's also not in this room, we're going to balance it with some decision making, and we're actually going to move in a direction, and we can measure it at the end. Responsibility. Pursuing excellence and accountability of self and others by not shifting blame or taking improper credit. It's very easy to point to another organization, point to another person, point to some other else, but the reality is, again, we have to look here, we have to look here, and we have to kind of all do that together and say we're going to take ownership of this community because this community is much more than ourselves, and we're going to participate to the fullest strength possible through this process. We are not going to give up. We are not going to quit. And when we want to quit, you got your neighbor, you got somebody right next to you saying, don't quit. Why? Because we're interconnected, and that's the last value. We're not going to compromise. We all represent, as an individual, as a family. We represent organizations. I represent the city of Rockford in my department and the whole crew, but I'm not going to compromise my crew. At the same time, I'm going to see that the crew that I work with is a part of this process, and as an organization, we're going to figure out how to get on board. And we're going to figure out, and we're going to have those difficult conversations, but we're going to do that, and we're going to look to partner, and we're going to look to integrate the city of Rockford's core values, but your family core values, your individual core values, your organizational core values, and we're going to wrap it all up together, and we're going to move up this mountain. This is a huge mountain to climb, but with shared values, with unity, we can do this.
Tonight we've been showing the many challenges that we will have to face while we make this journey, this long journey. In many ways, it is like climbing a mountain, David. When planning to climb a mountain, you stand at the distance and you can easily see the base and you can see the summit at a glance. You can also see some of the obstacles that you might have to face, and you can plan that route. But once you get onto the mountain, it all changes. You can no longer see the summit. You move forward, you run into the obstacles. Sometimes you find an obstacle that you didn't find when you're standing at a distance. It's very easy to become lost or disoriented when you're on the mountain. We're going to face the same issues. It's going to be easy to become lost and disoriented. In both situations, we need a tool to be able to keep ourselves oriented. When you're climbing a mountain, it's a compass. Here is a shared values document. The compass doesn't tell you where you are. It doesn't tell you where to go, but it points you in a direction. It tells you where north is, and it consistently and persistently points in that direction. That's what the shared values document is also going to do for us. Without a working compass, a small deviation in course over a long distance will take you very far from your end destination. We need to be able to pull ourselves back in. What we're going to be dealing with is deviations will be issues that we talked about in the specific shared values, such as transparency, respect, responsibility. This document will be able to bring us back in to reorient ourselves back towards our destination and not allow ourselves to be walking in circles and perhaps not even meet our actual destination. We're looking for your feedback. As been stated over and over again, this is rough drafts, but we know that there's expertise out there, there's experiences, some of you have been planning and been working towards this yourselves, and so you can give us very specific feedback, and we look forward to that. So we can actually have a final document. And once we have that final document, as stated before, we're all going to make a pledge to that, because we're going to use this tool, this compass, to help direct not only ourselves, but this group. And we need to use this document to hold ourselves accountable, hold yourself accountable, and all others that are a part of this group. This will be our compass. This is our shared values for Rockford.
Fantastic job, guys. Thank you so much. And thank you, Becky. It's an example of the sort of work that can get done when you find the right people. And I'm so glad I've gotten a chance to meet and work with this team. The critical part I want to emphasize about the values is it's not just a feel-good exercise. I hope you took this away. That it is key to unlocking the potential that exists within all of us as a community and to work together. And I think Tom pointed that out as well. We mean to live this and be reminding each other of this, and that's probably going to be the toughest part, talking to each other about those. So please keep that in mind.